Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours a day. I want to welcome our very talented co-host, Mrs. Jackie Williams.
Hello, everyone.
And Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron. It's good to be here.
And welcome to our millions of viewers worldwide. Something that's very disturbing, and I'm sure millions of our viewers will attest to that. The question is, black girls murdered. Why are so many of our black girls disappearing? And what is the cause? And who's doing it? Okay, some of these young people have been missing for years. There's got to be. It seems like it's become systemic in the black culture. Why? Jackie, you deal with young girls. Since we're talking about girls, you're a mentor. What do you think is the cause that so many people are missing? We see it on social media, especially Facebook, all the time. If you go to some of our big stores, when you check out, you see a whole wall full of missing black girls and white girls and Hispanic girls and guys too. But it seems that the choice seems to be black girls. Why?
I think a lot of dysfunction has a lot to do with some of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is dysfunction because this generation is different. We are in this generation where a lot of our children, our parents were the addicted parents, so these were the kids that were at home when our addiction was great and crack cocaine had plagued our environment and our neighborhoods. And then what happened was it's generations of no one being home to teach and no one being home to structure. And so what happens is you have all this dysfunction. So you had grandparents raising children, you have family members raising children, and the first thing they'll tell you is as soon as I get old enough, I'm leaving. And what they do is, the world looks very advertising, they can live on their own and people, I'll buy you some clothes or whatever. And the people that live that other lifestyle, they make it advertising because when you are scraping to have just a regular school clothes and then somebody is flashing you can have all these things, and it causes for them to be distracted, and a lot of times they prematurely leave home. A lot of kids prematurely leave home. They quit school, they leave home, and they're just out there, and they quickly are drawn into that underworld of child trafficking, where it looks advertising until you realize what's going on. They get you addicted to drugs, and then you start going to different cities. And we had a big ring actually in Flint, Michigan, where they found that it was linked across the in Texas and Atlanta. So this child trafficking is really big, and they target people who low self-esteem, want to leave home, low income, because some families are 7 or 8 deep in 2 and 3 bedroom homes, and so their whole thing is I want to get out on my own and have a better way, they think, but without the education and without the proper guidance, they're making bad decisions, and so they get caught up in something bigger than what they know. Sometimes it's bad relationships. A lot of older men target younger women because they don't have the financial backing, and they call it their big daddy. And what they do is they buy the materialistic stuff, and they take them out of the home, and they can get them to do whatever they need them to do. And so that takes them into a world that's turned upside down. And it's just so many bad decisions that are going on in our homes because a lot of women, young women, I say to them all the time, they invite people into their houses that they don't even know, that take advantage of their children. And like the one guy last year, remember they were looking for the little girl, and it was her boyfriend that had abducted the little girl and killed her. So a lot of times we invite people into our house, with our homes with our children, and we don't even know who they are. And they hurt our children, and they take our children, they kill our children, or we let them babysit our children, they abuse our children. We're just not making very good choices. Not everybody, but a big enough group is, where we need to flag it, flag on a play. We're inviting people too prematurely into our homes to be around something that's so precious as our children and our young women. And so I think that we just need to do some housekeeping among our single parents or, two-parent families. We need to restrict who comes into our home prematurely that you don't really know. You might meet somebody on the internet. That's another venue that they do. They meet somebody on the internet, think that they look good, because on the internet I can be anything I want to be until I meet you, because it's not going to disclose that I have mental issues. And so we are subjecting ourselves to all of those kind of things.
Hi, Ron.
Thoughts?
My dad? Okay, I agree with Jackie. There are kids who were the victims of traffickers, and they're runaways, and they're super kids, super girls who want to just be away and do their own thing and engage in their own kind of covert activity. And they get all wrapped up in that, only to regret it over time if they get with the wrong people. But in order to make this a credible discussion, we need to consider all girls, irrespective of race, age, and gender. So that, because you cannot solve a problem if you got one segment of that problem hanging out on the on the other end. You got to encapsulate all of it and solve it. And so we need to talk about that part where kids need to accept some responsibility for what they do. They got to help us protect them, help us save them from themselves and from the outside world. That's something that has to be taught at home or in an institution like a church. If churches have that kind of demeanor and will and capacity to do that, because all churches may not be able to do it, but there are some that can do it well. Perhaps your church is a good example. And when we talk about these, we need to develop strategies that apply to all circumstances. First of all, with that ability to self-protect themselves, and with systems of government and rules and regulations that would give it some enhancing solutions that will prevail for a while. And we need to bring our schools into that. And of course the police department is in that. And I know the schools are doing everything that they can to advise kids to stay away from these problematic areas where they get caught up in trafficking. I think that some churches do. I think that the police department does. But all of that is not resulting, and we were specifically talking about people of color, weren't we? I don't mean to change that, but still.
I brought in all races.
Okay, but still, the ones that you pointed to were on post office walls.
No, the topic was black girls murdered, but then I included white, Hispanic.
But see, I remember that, and I remember seeing it. But I can't tell you what the solution is if we don't try to start it at its very beginning, and that's at home. Parents need to do more to teach kids restraint and control. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that we see as a societal problem, whether it's in the schools or whether it's in the university or whether it's in homes. We see lack of restraint and the acceptance of responsibility for the and accepting consequences for the actions that they take. And if they know this, we could probably improve it, but we will not solve it because it's always there. That potential is always there. There are people who are deranged enough to kill kids. And we see this all the time, and every year we read these stories where somebody just killed a girl because she was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Or they may not always rape the girl, but they just kill. And that's part of the thing that we have to deal with. We can never tell when that kind of individual will strike or how we should solve the problem. Because you can't go out and jerk every man by the collar and say you're a murderer. It's got to be a systematic way of dealing with it, so it becomes a systematic solution.
And also, there's a lot of pedophiles out there too. And you folks at home, all you have to do, go on your computer and just type in pedophile, all right, in your general location. I guarantee you, there'll be a number of people pop up. And also too, for you mothers, especially single mothers, all right, watch your daughters and watch your sons. Okay, we had a horrific situation that occurred here this past summer in my area, where this little girl, 4 years old, they found her, all right, in a bathtub. You know, it makes me sick in my stomach to even think about it. All right, how humans could do this to another human being, but this woman's boyfriend, all right, had raped this little 4-year-old, all right, and they found a little girl in a bathtub, all right. Her mama claimed that she was being abused by her boyfriend as well. This little girl, when they found her in boiling hot water, but I know there was more to it than that. All right, I don't want to be too graphic, but her fingers and her toes were falling off. Okay, so and talking to the people that were in charge of the investigation and so forth, that the most horrific situation that they have ever encountered. Okay, and they've been they were on drugs, but irregardless, okay, I don't know because I've never been on drugs, but this little girl had even whelps and broken bones and things of that nature. So you single parents, especially single mothers, be extremely careful who you bring into your home, as Mr. Hatter was indicating, because you never know what these men are like.
There's just one other thing I want to talk about here. The policeman who kids need to entrust to some degree as their friends and as supporters, and parents and teachers, people come into these, and pastors that come in the lives of kids with some trust, automatic trust that kids get them. They should never condemn the kid. Never condemn that you are out here as a some of the nasty names that they call kids who are wayward. They should never do that. And I'm sure that there was a time 20 or 30 years ago that women who were supposedly conducted or abducted and raped or that was beat up, the first word that came out of the mouth of the policeman was that you were sloughing around, you were slumming around, you were condemned. People should never do that to kids. because they remember that until the day they die. And we should know that now. And this has played out over the past 20 years as women have brought their stories to them, and some of them that were more believable than others. But we need to just remember that. You want to help the kid out, you ask questions, you don't just condemn them.
And so that brings me to one of the things that I focus on. I tell my young ladies all the time, regardless to ethnicity, I don't care. You should always have two people that you can contact. And I call it what they do for me. They can call me at any given time and I won't ask any questions. It's called a 911 run. That means I'm coming regardless to what the situation is, unless it's dangerous, of course. But I'm coming and I won't ask questions until you're able to get yourself together, and then we have to have a conversation. But people need safe people, and it depends on where you're from. Police are not always safe for us because a lot of our families don't trust the police, and they've taught that to their children. So we have to have safe people in our lives.
But you can't overlook the police.
I'm not
That's
saying
your
overlook
job.
them. I'm just saying
And you watch it.
they don't consider them safe. Everybody don't consider
Yeah,
them safe.
I know what you're
My
saying.
son don't consider them safe.
I don't
You
either.
understand what I'm saying? So you got to be
Right.
real. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but I'm saying they should have safe people in their lives where they can call them and say, I'm in trouble.
But the irony is that you can put that spin on pastors
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
on teachers.
Yes.
I mean, so
Well,
but
it
we
can.
gotta
A safe
hope-
person can be
Yeah.
whatever, where you're comfortable, because you have to be comfortable
Yes,
with them. Because
yes.
if you're not going to contact them. So Mama can't make the list for you. You have to make your own list of who you connect with.
But we also need to tell the police,
Yes.
parents and teachers now, that we have an expectation of a job for you to do, and that's to protect our kids. No excuses.
But you know, with the advent of social media, okay, now every day you could go on Facebook right now or whatever else, Twitter, what have you. I don't trust cops because a number of them are pedophiles themselves. I don't trust preachers because a number of them are pedophiles. Okay, so I mean, I think our children.
But these
So-
are institutions.
Yes.
These are institutions. Institutions provide stability
They're
in a
supposed
cultural
to.
setting.
Yes, they're supposed to.
We cannot do without those people.
I'm
And
not
there's
saying-
somebody
We gotta
bad
clean
in
them up.
every situation. There is always some, but there's always some good, and I think the good outweighs the bad. So we still have safety nets in the school. We still have safety nets in the church. We still have safety nets in the police department. What we have to do as citizens is we have to push the envelope to make sure that they're providing the services that we depend on them to
Yes,
provide.
we're on the same
Yeah.
page.
And tell on them if they're not
Yeah.
doing their jobs. all
Hold
right?
them accountable. Hold them accountable to the things that we require them to do. Because I did see some soft side of it. I've seen police get out and play basketball with them because we used to have community cops. Well, they knew your family, and they knew, everybody. So if they see you, they're not alarmed because they know who you are. They, you see them walking through the neighborhood and they were familiar with you. We don't have that like we used to have that. And I think that's one of the barriers. And a couple of bad calls, has caused for it to be a distant relationship, but it needs to be a better relationship with our police.
And we need to call on the administration to make sure they're doing that screening for policemen. They don't get a kid that beat up kids in 6th grade
Right.
when they were in 10th grade.
Or leave a police department with a bad record and come work in our police department.
That's right. There you
Yeah,
go.
so we have to hold the people accountable that provide
Yes.
those services for us.
Yes.
Teachers, if you lost a job because you didn't have self-control or you did some things that were questionable, we can't be a desperate school board where we just accept you to come here and continue on your
Journey of destruction.
Well, not to hammer on one religion or the other, but we've all seen, what the Catholic Church has done. Okay, and how they get away with this stuff is ridiculous. thousands, tens of thousands of children from all over the world, all right, but have been sexually abused by the Catholic Church.
But we're working on that.
But that's not only the Catholic Church, but you got Baptist Church, you got Protestant churches, you know what I mean? You got all kinds of different churches, and the heads of some of those churches, not all, but more than it should, okay, have been identified as pedophiles.
And we can be grateful that the church has changed its culture a bit, and we have more women engaged in there, and as oversight and as co-regulators and growth strategists to reduce these kind of things that happen.
And accountability, because what they're doing now is that, they're speaking against, it used to be if you were the subject of possible, molestation or whatever, they would just relocate you. Mm-hmm. Now they're pressing charges against you and they're holding you accountable by law. So that is a step in the right direction.
Yes. So we don't want to leave everybody gloom and doomed. But
right.
we're making changes.
Yes.
Some of those changes are productive and relevant and helping to feel the problem out.
And also, don't lose your voice. A lot of women, and they don't feel comfortable in their voice. And I need you to use your voice to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. Use your voice to protect yourself. Don't be afraid to speak out. Don't be afraid to call and say, they have hotlines that you can call. I'm having a questionable situation. Mm-hmm. Or tell a friend that that will get your information. If you're not able to speak on your own, have somebody else that can speak on your behalf to be able to alert who they need to alert that there is some issues going on and you need help.
And I hope that those people that you're talking to will do justice to why they go there. Go there with stuff that you know to be true.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Don't condemn a person if you don't know he should be condemned. And in many cases, in the past, it was easy to condemn men who misrepresented themselves in the presence of women, no matter whether they were Catholic priests or whether they were husband and wife in a relationship. But you need to make sure that you're credible. So that
good information,
yes, like me can support you. Because sometimes people don't say things that are credible, and they condemn the whole action that they're trying to solve.
And you hurt innocent people.
You hurt innocent
because
people.
you hurt. As women, we have the voice, and our voice can hurt innocent people. So we have to use your information, as you said, Henry, is make sure your information is true. It can't be something that's in your head that nobody else can relate to. It has to be things that actually have happened. So you want to make sure you're a good steward over that opportunity to be able to use your voice in the right way so that not wrong people will be prosecuted. And because there's so many in jail right now.
And there are so many men who want to support the women too.
Yes.
Of course. Let's move on to this other topic that's very, very troubling too. In searching for material for our show, I found that it blew my mind when I read the caption. Children found packed in ice for organ transplants, bound for China. Now, some people might say, no, that's not true. But then again, here not too long ago, there was body parts found in Detroit that this guy was wholesaling, to different hospitals and doctors and so forth. Now, my question would be is how, and he was also getting them out, had connections with funeral homes.
It's a black market. It's a black market, and it's unfortunate.
Not from funeral homes.
No.
You have to capture
No.
organs very quickly.
No, I'm saying it's a black market for transplants. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you ever paid attention, and I wish I had a little bit more time to pay attention to, I like statistics. If you look at how many dialysis units have come up in the city of Flint or across the nation, they're coming up more so than you've ever seen. When we were younger, I didn't see so many dialysis units. I mean, you knew of some, but not on every corner.
Because people die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so so now you have dialysis units, and unfortunately, I have an associate that her son, only 34 years old, died of renal failure because this is a lifestyle that a lot of people don't like to live. If you're not able to have functioning organs, it's hard for you to travel. I have a cousin that has kidney disease, and I've seen her ever since she was, I think, 8. She has always had restrictions, and she's had 3 kidney transplants. This is a lifestyle that has to be restricted, because wherever you go for a couple of days, you have to be able to get to a dialysis unit. And so what they do in the black market is they'll sell you, because the organ transplant, especially like for a kidney, it could be 3 to 5 years, depending on if people are donating, because when you go get your license at the Secretary of State, you can say, I would like to be a donor. But so many people don't fill that out. I am a donor.
I'm a donor. My wife was a donor.
You might not be able to see with these eyes, but everything else is okay. But I'm a donor. And it's sad because so many people don't know the right way to do stuff.
Can I just add to this, because this is a very, very important issue. It's always been important to me. I was on the president's team when they first organized the donor when the president of the United States, and I think that was Reagan or Bush, and I was selected as a delegate from Michigan to go and talk about widespread appeal from people who would stand up and donate their organs while they still live. And of course, there was a whole write-up, procedures and how you get it done, and positions where you go to register. The Secretary of State in Michigan was that place, and and my job was to come back and bring enthusiasm to organizations to donate their organs, just to sign up for the donate their organs. And you know what the most difficult thing I found? That Black Americans did not donate their organs.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
And so most of the organs that are being donated to Blacks are coming from other groups. And we need to clean that up a little bit. Stand up. God won't accept you in heaven with good organs that could have gone to
What is it? Stop that.
Yeah. Stop and think about it. And
I mean, it's something we should not do.
Why people in those days said it was a bad thing for Black Americans. Remember the Tuskegee Airmen's the Tuskegee experiment where they gave Black men syphilis. They used that as the discussion, but we're 75 years away from that experiment. We need to change our culture and provide our organs to people who live. Join the other cultures of the world.
You're right.
Donate organs. I'm sorry, that's it.
That's right. Well, I'm not donating nothing. Okay? Just in case.
Not even a squeal.
Just in case, you know what I mean? There's another life. All right? I'm not against people donating. Please do so. That's your choice. But Ronald Barrington Robinson ain't contributing. I ain't.
Keep praying for him, people.
Nothing.
Keep praying for him.
But with that,
please forgive him.
but with that, we must bring this show to a close. Until next time, this is Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends saying, stay focused.